This current school year, Belton ISD has continued focusing on connecting with our students and creating moments that matter as we meet our mission of providing an education that challenges every student to excel. From implementing important safety and security enhancements to the open and inclusive process our board and community undertook to adopt new district-wide attendance boundaries, we have remained committed to our mission and purpose. We want our students and staff to reflect back on their time in our classrooms and schools with the confidence that we and they have created moments that mattered. Let's take a look at a roundup of momentous student achievements across academics, athletics, fine arts, and CTE. There were so many amazing stories that have happened this school year. Here are some of those defining moments. They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. The Addams Family musical production from Belton High School Theater was a smashing success. Bringing this story to life on stage involved much more than just the performers. The musical was brilliantly accompanied by a live BHS orchestra. Under the direction of teacher Melissa Stuff, the production had 77 students involved in roles that ranged from cast to props design, construction, costume design, sound engineering, and light design. Costumes and sets were built by BHS students and guided by Mel Edwards. Head choir director Tanya Lavorne directed the orchestra, along with vocal assistants from assistant choir director Travis Campbell. It was a tremendous display of skill from our fine arts department. A happy surprise awaited members of the Belton ISD Special Olympics bowling team when they were cheered on by fans before traveling to Fort Hood for competition in November. The team is comprised of 22 students from Belton Elementary, Middle, and High Schools, and they were joined by 15 volunteer students who assisted during competition by serving as bowling buddies. Among the many groups cheering on the athletes were the Marching 100, football players, the Magic Bells, and Belton Cheer. Adapted physical education teacher Lauren Marks said, "It helps us promote including general and special education students together in activities." This spring, Belton ISD's Special Programs team expanded Special Olympics participation to include basketball and track and field competitions that provide another great example of what it means to build connections with students and provide an education that challenges all of our students to excel. Among the many goals at Belton Early Childhood School's monthly assemblies is making those kinds of personal connections with children at a young age, says Beck's principal Sue Banfield.
So we have a program at Beck's called Conscious Discipline, and it's total framework for social emotional skills. And so our teachers are always working with the children to be sure that they're calming, that they're self-regulating, and just all the social emotion, talking to each other, using their big voices, things like that. So today we had two children that came up, and they are going to teach us to calm when we're not feeling well.
Twin, what's wrong with my mommy? I'll be right back to her. Here, Twin, your mommy is in your heart. Thank you, Avery.
Pies in the Face was a perfect activity to cap off Chisholm Trail Elementary's fundraiser to benefit Kids Against Hunger of Central Texas and Hope for the Hungry. Staff received the Messy Mounds courtesy of kindergartners whose grade raised the most money. The 4th grade service project raised a total of $4,180, which allowed the campus to pack 16,000 meals for those in need. A first-of-its-kind moment occurred for education router and bus driver Jeffrey Brown when he became the first bus driver to drive the bus loop for the new Lake Belton High School. He transported administrators, board members, architects, and contractors who toured the site. Jeffrey even wore his signature Belton red shoes for the trip. And speaking of dressing the part, Sparta Elementary Principal Julie Manley made quite the impression when she donned a Cruella de Vil costume and posed with her 501 and plus Dalmatians.
Typically, we don't celebrate Halloween in school, but kids are excited about October 31st and just all their fun activities. And so doing a little bit of research on how we could manage that day in a fun way, create a moment for students and staff that kind of lodged in our memory in a community effort of us all dressing up. So I had some moments of panic the night before, just because a little bit outside my comfort zone, but you'll do anything for kids. And so, you know, putting together a costume, preparing to wear a wig most of the day because the kids wanted to see, you know, me dress like that for all the day. But just knowing that it was worth it for them to have a fun day, to have an experience that they'll look back on and say, remember that day when we all dressed up as Dalmatian puppies.
Lake Belton Middle School held its third annual Career Day in February. 8th grade students spent the afternoon visiting with representatives from over 30 careers, including dog trainers, news anchors, and surgeons. Students chose 5 of the careers represented and rotated through 20-minute sessions hearing from and asking questions about the jobs. There were many BISD moments created at Pirtle Elementary's No Place for Hate Committee's multicultural holiday night celebration in January. Students and families were given passports to visit areas in the school celebrating 6 cultural holidays and traditions. They participated in different activities and even tasted some traditional homemade cuisine. A new perspective on a familiar food certainly occurred during North Belton Middle School science teacher Carolyn Waring's chicken wings dissection lesson.
We're in the middle of teaching human body systems, and we just finished talking about bones and muscles, and we wanted to make the connection of how muscles move bones. And so the best way for us to do that, and less expensive way to do that, is to use chicken wings because they're very similar to the human arm. And so we walk them through it, talk about the skin, how the skin is similar, but there's still some differences, some adaptations. And then we get down to where we look at the bones and the muscles and how the muscles are connected using a tendon. I see it as, wow, they're going to learn something that's going to last a lifetime. Yeah, it's very exhausting for me. By the end of the day, I don't want to see another chicken leg. I can't eat chicken for about a week, but it gives me the joy of watching them learn and seeing their faces. Those kids that were really reluctant to even try to do it, to get in there once you show them how to kind of play around with it and learn about it, they're in there and they're working with it, and the kids that don't want to participate, I don't force anybody to participate in it, but they're kind of getting closer and closer to the tables as they're seeing their friends have fun and learning about it.
A month-long research project by High Point Elementary 5th graders on the American Revolution became the Passport Through Time trunk show at the Bell County Museum. Their work was displayed front and center at an opening night event hosted by the museum. Students were asked to be creative and imaginative when they created artifacts that might reflect life during the colonial era. The work for the museum is a wonderful example of our district priority of implementing curriculum and instructional practices across all content areas with an emphasis on writing. Our district also focuses on creating supportive campus cultures which prioritize safety and security. Belton New Tech freshman Marissa Todd demonstrated her concern for the safety and security of her neighbor, helping him after he fell in the rain outside of his home and was bleeding. The City of Temple awarded Marissa with a Good Citizen proclamation for her altruistic act. And when South Belton Middle School Secretary Pam Heitmiller wanted to recognize a fellow staff member for outstanding service, she immediately thought of print shop clerk Vanessa Alvarez, who was extremely surprised to receive a Big Red Heart Award.
I was sitting at my desk doing some designing on for one of the campuses. There was a knock on my door. As soon as my director, Tammy Shannon, opened the door, there was a group of people from administration as well as my boss that was walking in my door. And first thing that I thought was, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I did something, maybe, I don't know, I did something that maybe they didn't like. Turned out it was me receiving the Big Red Heart Award, and it surprised me, it shocked me, and it was something I didn't expect. I was full of excitement that I cried, and before the letter was even read to me of who nominated me, and it was Pam.
Well, at the beginning of school, when all the teachers come back, they're fired up. They have great ideas of things they want to do in their classroom, and they want it tomorrow. And Vanessa makes us feel like we're her only customers. She does it, she gets it to us as quick as possible, and it's just wonderful.
Sometimes it's hard to know if my job gets noticed, and seeing that, it made me feel happy, and it made me feel rewarded.
South Belton Middle School honored over 200 veterans and active duty service members at the annual Take a Vet to School Day in November. The program began with a special breakfast, which was followed by a student-led assembly that featured poetry, gifts to veterans on staff, as well as performances by the choir, band, orchestra, and the Belton High School MCJROTC. Afterward, veterans had the opportunity to speak to individual classes about their service. It was all smiles and laughs at Lakewood Elementary's Fall Frenzy in October, which was kicked off by a ribbon cutting celebrating the completion of the new gymnasium and music classrooms that were part of the 2017 bond project. There was plenty of good food and company with plenty of fun games for kids of all ages, including the Lakewood Warrior Experience obstacle course, where students tested their athleticism and agility. Leon Heights Elementary students demonstrated skills in the ways of the Force during Eli Jackson's Jedi training camp in preparation for STAR testing.
We did a outdoor kind of relay. It was only one part of our STAR prep. We actually did quite a bit of other things, but we just needed to get outside. And we looked around the playground and looked at the equipment and the soccer field and other things, and I just decided I would do a bunch of obstacles and little events, and at each station students would answer 4 questions along with nonfiction texts. As we re-practiced those, we had gone in depth with them prior to that, and we just wanted to review them. The final station was to battle the Sith Lord, Mr. Jackson. And we were the week before the STAR, and typically at that point everybody's burnt out. And so we needed to do something that was exciting, and just seeing one student replied that, said that this is the most fun I've ever had at school. And I was one of those jackpot moments of doing something right. Was exciting. It was exhausting, jumping around and swinging pool noodles at students all day, but it was a whole lot of fun.
In further pursuit of Tarver Elementary's 3rd annual No Place for Hate designation, students held a rock garden ceremony based on the book Each Kindness. During guidance lessons with their counselor, students each painted a rock with messages of love and support. These rocks were then placed in the Tarver Rock Garden, culminating a unique lesson that helped us achieve our district priority of focusing on each student's unique academic, behavioral, and social-emotional learning needs. These important campus celebrations underscore the many behind-the-scenes moments of insight and personal growth our staff facilitated for kids through their use of the Bridges program's instructional approaches to addressing student behavior. Creating those types of personal connections is what Miller Heights Elementary Principal Jennifer Connor experienced when the school gathered to honor Coach S., who tragically passed away.
Recently, our Miller Heights community came together and we planted a crepe myrtle for Coach Shelley, for Coach S., just to honor her and remind our community about her. It's right outside of the gym and it's beautiful. After the tree ceremony was over and the last of the camera crew had left and most of the classes had gone back in, the 3rd graders were on the playground and they were playing. And I was picking up the last bits of furniture to carry them back into the gym. And 3 children, 3 3rd graders, ran up to me and said, "Mrs. Connor, we need to hold hands and pray around the tree. And we need to have a private moment for Coach S. And we need to just remember her, and we need to think about how amazing she was and how we will continue to remember her and honor her every time we play on the playground and every time we see this tree blooming in her favorite color. We need to just take a moment and hold hands. And it was student initiated, and it was so genuine and pure. And the 3 kids and I just linked arms and around the little tree, and we just had a quiet moment. And it's the most meaningful moment I've had in so long, and it is literally a moment I will never forget.
Southwest Elementary students celebrated Read Across America Day in March by dressing up as their favorite Dr. Seuss character and listening to volunteers read stories in the library. Special community volunteers from First Community Title and the United Way of Central Texas joined students for National Read Across America Day, an annual celebration of reading and literacy that coincides with the birthday of children's author Dr. Seuss. As a part of the festivities, First Community Title presented a donation box of over 50 books to the campus before joining a group of volunteers organized by the United Way to read in classrooms. Encouraging reading is exactly what 2 BHS Career and Technical Education FCCLA students had in mind when they developed the idea for a free lending library. With the help of their sponsor Melissa Beecham and construction teacher Craig Sullivan, whose students built the tiny houses, a number of lending libraries were donated and installed at campuses across Belton ISD, as well as one in front of Scott and White McLean Children's Medical Center in Temple. Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America students Yesenia Guzman and Alexis Ariel hope to install even more lending libraries throughout our district. McLean Children's Hospital was also the site of a deeply emotional moment for Assistant Athletic Director Brian Cope, his wife Allison, and their newborn son.
Ryan had a stomach issue where the stomach muscle has gotten too big and it wasn't allowing food to digest through the intestines. So starting on Sunday, every time he fed, he spit up his food. And it started to become a lot more and some different discoloration. I won't get into full details, but so we went to the emergency room Monday morning at 3, and they diagnosed that about 9 in the morning. He had surgery the next day. You know, when I was 3 years old, I was put in the hospital, and my dad was a coach in Houston, and some of his players came to visit. And for life to come full circle, and for my son to have some players come visit him, was an absolutely awesome experience. They did such a great job, and those kids, not only did my family enjoy it, but those kids did as well, and the experiences that they got to have, getting to put smiles on kids' faces or families' faces. That's a memory and a moment that they're gonna remember for a lifetime. At first, you know, Connor told me that he was a little bit scared to hold him, but once he got him in his arms, that it was, Ryan was just very relaxed with them, very comfortable with all of them, and just staring at, and Allison told me he was just staring at them and just kind of mesmerized by them and the uniform. And then they all signed a baseball for him that's in his room right now, and every time we walk in there to either lay him down or to rock him or to change a diaper or two, we get to see that, and it just kind of reminds us of what a special place this is.